Supporting her bestie, the Golden Globes put female empowerment at the center of Hollywood's awards season. Presenters and winners last night focused on gender inequality and sexual misconduct.
The Golden Globes was the first major award show since revelations about widespread sexual abuse led to the ouster of power.
This chick Laura Dern, I heard Baron Davis is hitting that.
Powerful men in Hollywood and beyond.
And one of entertainment's most influential women, Gail's bestie, stole the show last night. Kevin Frazier of our partners at Entertainment Tonight was there and joins us from Los Angeles. What a night, Kevin. Good morning.
What a night and what a speech. Nearly all of the ladies who took the stage last night had something to say about gender equality in the workplace. But when 60 Minutes special contributor Oprah Winfrey stepped up, the message couldn't have been more loud and clear.
Speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have.
Yes, Oprah, you need to start speaking the truth because you're a damn liar. That's what you need to start doing. Once again, when you look at Oprah's history, she has all the telltale signs of a monarch child, of a MKUltra programmed asset. By her own admission, she states that she was sexually assaulted, sexually molested from a very young age by numerous men. Sexual assault in little kids or towards little children is one of the ways that they fragment the mind so that they can program the child. And as I already stated, under Mr. Carl Rogers' CIA MKUltra Subproject 74, young girls were trained on how to become basically sex slaves for grown men in politics and other high-level positions, particularly say if they were the leaders or the presidents of certain institutions like universities who were expected to comply with many of the requests from the CIA to perform research for the MKUltra program. They would take photos of these men having sex with these little girls so that they could blackmail them. It's just interesting that Oprah just comes out of nowhere and just rockets up into fame. Hey, and speaking of the name Harpo, there was a comedian back in the 30s and 40s named Harpo Marx. He was a member of a very famous comedic troupe known as the Marx Brothers. And as Harpo Marx, he was known for being silent and also engaging in mischief. He also, I believe, had blonde hair. Harpo, the god Harpo, was also known for having blonde hair because he was basically a Macedonian version of the Greek entity Heru. So that's what the Macedonians would do. They would take many of the Kemetic or Babylonian gods, the pantheon, and convert them over and change them into Caucasian images.
In her acceptance of the Cecil B. DeMille Award, Oprah's rousing speech aimed to inspire every generation.
And it is not lost on me that at this moment, there are some little girls watching as I become the first black woman to be given the same award.
Along with this.
And she got the Cecil B. DeMille Award exactly for what? She's not a good actress. The broad has been in one film of note, and that was over 30 years ago. And as I've already gone over with brothers in regards to that film, The Color Purple, that was just a hit piece against black men that was executed by CIA operative Alice Walker. And Alice Walker's daughter hates her, by the way, because she states that she was raised in a household to hate men and to hate the prospect of having a child because, according to Alice Walker's daughter, Alice Walker told her that children are a way to hold women down. This is what she stated. And as I've already told you, brothers, Alice Walker was basically instructed and indoctrinated by Gloria Steinem, who was given the seed money for Miss Magazine by the CIA. And by the way, brothers, those MKUltra sub-projects that I mentioned, number 74 and number 130, which were presided over by Carl Rogers and William Thetford, respectfully, those are matters of public record. You can view those sub-projects in the Freedom of Information Act. Okay? They're right there on the internet. Nothing that I'm stating is quote-unquote conspiracy and all that and all those other things. It's just obvious to me when you look at Oprah and you actually understand what her name means and where she came from, what she venerates, that she's an asset. But I'll be going a little deeper into that later on in this video.
The standing ovation, her words prompted speculation of a White House run.
This year's my daughter, Tanya.
Allison Janney, named Best Supporting Actress,
Yeah, Allison. You must mean Alex Janney, allegedly.
is the abusive mother in I, Tanya, admitted she was getting swept up in Oprah for President fever.
I certainly would vote for her, hands down. I would do anything for her, yeah.
Oprah's speech was the capstone of an evening built on stories of women demanding their place in the world.
Did you hear what he said? He said that Oprah's speech was a capstone. What is he referring to? He's referring to Luciferianism. The capstone is the remaining stone that has to be put on the pyramid, or the great work. The work that was started by Cush and Nimrod in their rebellion against the Most High. Always listen very closely to the terminology that's used.
What's with the new attitude, Dixon?
3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri came out on top with 4 Golden Globes. Frances McDormand won Best Actress in a Drama as a mother fighting to solve the rape and murder of her daughter. She expressed the mood of the moment.
Trust me, the women in this room tonight are not here for the food.
Frances McDormand. Let me find out she's just a light-skinned black woman. You see how she move her neck? These chicks are so gassed up in Hollywood, man. It's so disgusting.
We are here for the work.
I want to go where culture is.
Feminist Fire also propelled the story of Lady Bird. It was written and directed by Greta Gerwig. Saoirse Ronan plays a teen longing to break free from her hometown for a better education. Ronan nabbed Best Actress, and the film took home Best Comedy or Musical. On the TV side, Big Little Lies was the big winner, powered by co-producers Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon.
That sounds like a film that was, or some type of series that was created by women. It's called Big Little Lies. As I already stated, Nicole Kidman, she's nothing but a little monarch sex toy thrown around the industry. They gave her to Tom Cruise first, and that's how they work with a lot of top level actors, particularly if you're compliant. You know, if you do the job, they'll tell you, so what do you want? And they'll just give you a high, an actress or a singer that you happen to like. That's what happened to Jay-Z. Jay-Z's been very dutiful, so they've given him a lot of gifts. Jay-Z is the hip-hop version of Frank Sinatra. That's why he says that. What that means is that he's a high-level handler, borderline programmer, because that's what Frank Sinatra was. Frank Sinatra had the keys to a lot of the more prominent entertainers in Hollywood and in Las Vegas in the 50s and 60s, like Sammy Davis Jr., Elvis. Frank Sinatra controlled all of them. And, of course, he was working very, very closely with Mr. Sam Giancana,
one of the leaders of the Time's Up movement.
But like I said, look up Nicole Kidman's father. His name is Anthony Kidman. He was a world-renowned psychiatrist who came over to America to work on his craft in many mental hospitals, which is where they do a lot of research on MKUltra. They will torture many of the people in the mental hospitals, as well as torturing a lot of children, normally with electroshock therapy and electroshock treatment, sleep deprivation, things like that, causing massive pain to the subject to see if they can get their mind to fragment.
Women in all industries are standing up and saying, enough, we deserve equality, and the time is up.
Now, another of the night's big winners, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's a series on Amazon that I'm sure many of you may not have seen, but it features a strong female lead, and it's a story set in the 1950s. It's all about a housewife who is dumped by her husband and then turns that misfortune into a comedic career. Jeff?
Hey, Kevin, so 3 billboards and also Big Little Lies won 4 awards each.
Yeah.
You mentioned those, but there were other notable wins as well.
Yeah, it was a historic night for first-time winners, and there were a lot of them. Sterling K. Brown of This Is Us took home his first Golden Globe for Best Actor in a TV Drama, which also marks the first time a black actor won in that category. And let's not forget about comedian Aziz Ansari, who won for Best Actor in a Comedy Series for his work on Master of None. There were a few other big names notching their first wins.
All these guys are acting so shocked. They're all Luciferians. They've all, pretty much written their name in blood on the contract. I've seen photos of Aziz Ansari in the past, way before this story broke out about him and the female on the date. And in the photo, you could tell by the hand signs that he was using or the poses that he was making that, of course, he was certainly in the craft.
Wins as well. After a quarter of a century behind the camera, director Guillermo del Toro finally won an award for his work on The Shape of Water, and 7-time Emmy winner Allison Janney, who has a closet full of Emmys, finally took home her first Golden Globe for...
Yeah, she need to come out the closet as a he, because that's what the hell that is. Alex Janney, allegedly.
Gold.
Speculation is growing this morning that Oprah Winfrey may challenge the president in 2020 after her rousing speech at Sunday's Golden Globes. She is still making headlines across the country this morning. Ivanka Trump praised the 60-minute special contributor on Twitter, calling her address empowering. Nora and I have several questions for Gail about all of this.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, Jan Crawford looks at how both Democrats and Republicans are weighing in. Jan, good morning.
Well, let me weigh in first. Just the fact that they would actually have a segment like this on the CBS Morning News shows you how much of a joke the American political process has become, pardon me, and also begun to be a shit show.
Well, good morning, Jeff. You know, Winfrey's longtime partner, Stedman Graham, started all this when he told the LA Times on Sunday that she would absolutely run, but ultimately it was up to the people. Well, since then, people on both sides of the aisle have weighed in.
I, for one, would love to hear that the State of the Union is strong.
From late night television.
You thought Bernie Sanders wanted to give a lot of stuff away. You get health insurance. You get health insurance.
To Washington.
Those are people who have no understanding of the money system at all. And this person here, Kristen Hillenbrand, she basically is the heir apparent to Hillary Clinton in regards to being the biggest Caucasian female demon in politics.
I think she's a real leader, and I think her voice is powerful.
Even across party lines.
I'd like to sit down with her and help her if I could. You want to run, y'all?
Yeah, you want to sit down with her and check and see if her nipples taste like chocolate. That's what you want to do.
Y'all to run.
Oprah Winfrey's speech at Sunday night's Golden Globes kicked off a whirlwind of speculation.
A new day is on the horizon.
And really what she was referring to when she said there's a new day on the horizon, she's talking about the rise of Heru. Because that's where the term horizon really comes from. It's talking about the veneration of Heru. Remember, the quote-unquote God Heru is representative of the sun. So when you talk about the horizon, you're talking about Heru rising, or Heru coming up from the netherworld into the world of the living. That is how the people of Kemet viewed the movements of the sun. As when it disappeared, it went into the netherworld. When it rose, it was coming back into the land of the living. When she's talking about a new day on the horizon, she's talking about the so-called New World Order. NWO, OWN, OWN, her network. Okay? Oprah is a major worker to promote Luciferianism amongst the masses. That's what it's all really about. And also right here, as you can see, you see Miss Michelle Obama, or Michael Obama, with the all black on. Michelle Obama is also known as one of the 12 Crown Sisters. She's one of the more prominent females in the craft.
It is not the first time her name has been linked to presidential politics.
Oprah, I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice.
Nearly 20 years ago, it was Donald Trump who floated the idea of Oprah as VP.
Of course, because Donald was probably hitting it. Oprah has slept with a lot of these more prominent men. And please understand something. In that world, they're all pansexuals. This nonsense about Harvey Weinstein and how incensed they are with him, it's balderdash, tomfoolery.
I'll tell you, she's really a great woman, though. She is a terrific woman.
And he praised her as recently as 2015.
Oh, she's great. She's talented. She's a friend of mine. She's a good person.
But on Monday, the idea of Winfrey as an opponent had a White House spokesperson saying simply, "We welcome the challenge." Some fellow Republicans agreed.
I think if she ran,
no one commands the kind of attention that Oprah commands.
Bill Burton worked for then Senator Obama when Winfrey's endorsement helped propel him to the 2008 Democratic nomination.
Her endorsement did not propel him to shit. He was raised to become what he became, which is president of the Corporation of Homeland Security, or as it's conventionally known as the United States. Once again, please notice the all black of Michelle Obama and also Barack. The only reason why he does not have on a black shirt is because when you have candidates who are running for office, they have to wear something. They have to wear something white. Okay, the word candidate itself means it alludes to the color white, because many of the top political candidates during the time of the Greco-Roman Empire, they would wear the white toga. I believe they were known as candida, Candida. You brothers could look that up.
I'm here to tell you, Iowa, he is the one.
She's going to have to build a campaign. She's going to have to take on what will likely be a large, diverse, talented field of Democratic candidates.
Winfrey has said Trump's election.
Pay attention to the background. You see that pyramid, the David Rubenstein show? Right in the center of that pyramid, he has his name and also the glasses, which is supposed to be a very mild allusion to the Eye of Heru, or the Eye of Set. And both him and Oprah are framed within the pyramid. It's really only because of the camera angle that they're both not properly framed within the pyramid. Remember how the announcer stated that Oprah's speech was the capstone to a great night? Once again, the capstone is that final stone on top of the pyramid to show that the work has been completed.
Election may have changed the equation.
I thought, oh, gee, I don't have the experience. I don't know enough. I don't know. And now I'm thinking, oh.
A few months later on CBS This Morning, she appeared to shut the door.
Well, you can be safe with that. There will be no running for office of any kind.
Now, notice Oprah started her statement by saying you could be safe with that. The reason why she said that was because you know what Gayle King stated? She said if Oprah runs for office, I'll swear on the life of my firstborn that Oprah will not be running for office. That's what Gayle King said. Why would Gayle King say something like that? Unless she's very familiar with the practice of sacrificing children to move up in the craft. Oprah told her you don't have to worry about that because I'm not running. Why would she say that? She should not have even paid attention to it because it should have been viewed as a joke, right?
Now, that interview back in October was just one of many times that Winfrey has insisted she has no interest in running for president. In fact, Gayle has even said she would bet her firstborn child that Oprah would never run.
Now, please keep in mind, in the rites and rituals of the veneration of Baal, people would oftentimes sacrifice their firstborn. So Gayle, in a certain type of way, is alluding to what they're doing behind closed doors and what it would take for Oprah to verify that she was going to ascend to the level of president. Now, since Gayle made it so transparent, clearly she's not going to sacrifice her firstborn child, but a certain child would have to be sacrificed, or a certain number of children would have to be sacrificed in order for Oprah to feel like she had a real chance of attaining the presidency.
Oh, Gayle?
Stop talking, Jan. Just stop it, Jan. But it's funny, my firstborn daughter, as you know, his favorite daughter, Kirby, and she went, hey, Mom, don't do that, don't do that.
She said her firstborn daughter, her favorite daughter. Now, what type of parent comes on national TV and states that they have a favorite child?
It is a very interesting conversation that's happening right now.
Didn't you bet your first and second-born children?
Yes.
I thought that's what it was.
Right.
So what about what Stedman said?
Maybe that's why Oprah Winfrey's father referred to Gayle King as a dirtbag.
Well, I do think that's interesting because Stedman says that he thought the reporter said to him, would she make a good president? And he said, absolutely she would. That's how he interpreted the question. Because this is the thing. Stedman would never so cavalierly say, absolutely she would do it. It's up to the people. He would never do that.
So what you're saying is that Stedman was misquoted, because according to the quote, he alludes to the notion that she would run based off of the reception of the people.
Do that. I got emails from people yesterday. But wait, no, I got emails from people yesterday that said, is Stedman being strategic or is he being supportive? He is nothing but supportive. He would never just throw it out there like that. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm going to ask you the same tough question that I ask guests on this show. In fact, Stedman did say she would absolutely do it. It's up to the people.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he did say it is up to the people, but I'm telling you, his interpretation of the question was, would she? He thought the reporter was saying, would she be a good president?
Okay, is she considering it?
No, I absolutely don't think that her position has changed. I don't. You know, I was up talking to her very late last night. I do think this, though, guys. I do think she's intrigued by the idea. I do think that. I also know that after years of watching the Oprah show, you always have the right to change your mind. I don't think At this point, she is actually considering it. But listen, there are people who said they want to be her campaign manager, who want to quit their jobs and campaign for her. She loves this country and would like to be of service in some way. But
she's already been in service for the last 40 years, promoting the worship of Lucifer on national television, which is about the same thing that you do on a very, very low and ignorant level. Gayle King is someone who's plugged in without being plugged in. She's an asset like everybody else. She basically is paid to watch Oprah and make sure that if she has any malfunctions, Gayle just calls it in. Stedman is her main handler. That's all. But her story in regards to what Stedman claimed he heard the reporter say doesn't make any sense at all based on his answer. It's obvious that Stedman most likely spoke to the sponsors and they said, chill out for a while. We have to gauge the reception of the people, because believe me, if the people decide that they want Oprah to be the president, she will run for it and she'll sacrifice a whole bunch of children and try to make it happen.
But I don't think that she's actively
For the record, that is
I don't think she's actively considering it at this time.
That is a change from what we heard in October.
It's not a change from her, Jeff. That's a change from me. It's not a change from her.
Fair enough, fair enough.
So let me ask you, who wrote the speech?
Listen, Oprah crafted that speech. She knew how she wanted to start. This was the thing for her. She knew exactly what she wanted to say, and she knew how she wanted to say it. She crafted the speech. She talked to an editor at the magazine, and
yeah, aren't you the editor of O Magazine, Gayle King? Who's the editor that she spoke to at the magazine? Because you're the main editor.
And the two of them came up with it, but Oprah put down exactly what she wanted to say. Those were all her words. You know, listen, she writes her What I Know For Sure column every week, every month in the magazine. She's a very good writer. We all know
allegedly.
Know she's a very good talker. And so I think that...
Yes, Oprah, the goddess of talk. Harpo, the god of silence.
I think that it was a home run on many levels. I thought, being in that room, I will say this, being in that room was electrifying. It was the right person giving the right speech at the right time. She wanted that moment to be more than women wearing black dresses of solidarity.
Absolutely. She wanted that moment to signify that she is the head of the Hollywood witch coven. And she did that very well. Everyone paid obeisance to her. Even Denzel Washington, who's connected himself. Denzel is connected his damn self. But that's another video for another day.
She really did want to speak to young girls around the country. She really did want to say enough already. And I think she delivered on all that in a very eloquent way. But will she run for president? I think it's I think it's a very intriguing idea.
Yes, you and Stedman and her sponsors have to put your heads together and see what you can come up with based off of the reception of the people.
If someone were to potentially run for president, what do you think their timeline might be?
I don't know, Jeff. I'm just looking at this. Yes, she can. Nopra. If you took out the P, it would say Nora, which I think is intriguing. I don't think there is such a thing as a timeline. And I'm not trying to be cute here or be mysterious, but I do think it's a very intriguing thing that she had never considered. People said, oh, yeah, she wrote that speech as a launching pad for what she wants to do. That's absolutely not true.
I wouldn't say that she... Well, Gayle King, I would say that I agree with you that she certainly did not write the speech as a launching pad for what she wants to do, because I don't believe that she wrote the speech. I believe that you did. It's very obvious that you wrote the speech. It's very obvious that you're the editor that you're speaking of. You're just acting as if you're not, because you don't want to take any credit away from your friend Oprah. And I get it. That is part of the image that is crafted for her. People like you, Stedman, behind the scenes, you work to make sure that she has this pristine image for herself, with her being the mother goddess and all. Very much like the Wizard of Oz, who has this grandiose imagery that he projects onto the people, but come to find out he's really not much of a person. It's really all smoke and mirrors, much like Oprah Winfrey. But no, I don't believe that Oprah's speech was meant to be an initial step necessarily for her presidential run. It was meant to just throw that line out into the water and see if the people were going to take the bait, if there was going to be a groundswell of support for her potentially being president. That's why the speech really did not touch on political issues. It really was more ideologically based. It was Oprah saying that there is a new day on the horizon, that being the veneration of Heru, the New World Order, And there's going to be a replacement for the male hegemony that has, quote unquote, held us down for so long. That was really the point of the speech. Now, if you were able to parlay it into a political run, then that's even better. But right now, there's not really much support in the average circles. Now, we know in the mass media, which is for the most part liberal, they're going to try to project Oprah as a viable candidate. But it's not realistic. And Oprah does not want to lose to Donald Trump. She does not want to embarrass herself. That would be a major hit to the modern feminist movement.
She worked on it, she rehearsed it, she practiced it. I was a practice audience member, and I have to say, I knew the speech was going to be powerful just when she was reading at the time. And you'll like this, before, when she was there at rehearsal, they told her she had to cut 3 minutes out of it because it was 6 minutes long. They said, you have to cut it to 3 minutes. And Oprah said, if it was any other night than this one, I could do that, but I don't plan on cutting it. As it turned out, with all the applause, it went 9 minutes.
Wow.
And I think they were very pleased. I think the producers thought, that was worth going late for.
Of course. And they're not going to shut down Oprah. This is her moment. Oprah could get most of those producers fired. If they had played that music while she was talking, heads would have rolled.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to have you back.
I'm glad, Nora, I am glad to be back.
Yeah, it was
no matter what happens, I will be at CBS this morning.
You don't know that, Gayle King. Be happy for every day and every breath. You have no idea where you're going to be tomorrow. Look at what happened to your boy Charlie Rose. Now, you may think that you have an added amount of support or protection because you're a woman and because Oprah has your back. By the way, the reason why Gayle King has this job is because of her association with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah used her affiliation with Charlie Rose to get Gayle King this job.
That's not what you said earlier. Okay, all right, we got to get to the other news.
You and Colbert put it in perspective. But, at the end, it did feel like she took us to church, I have to say.
Yes, the Church of Satan, just like Anton LaVey, who was associated with Michael Aquino, who Oprah had on her show. Michael Aquino, by the way, now that it's come to the forefront of my mind, you brothers can also read about him. He was mentioned in the book, The Franklin Cover-Up, which was basically about the child sex trafficking rings that were being precipitated by many of the top politicians in America, was going through Nebraska back in the late 70s, early 80s. Michael Aquino was in charge of that whole thing. Now, he never got in trouble for it. Why is that? Because he pretty much is untouchable. He is utilized by the military to train many of their MKUltra programmed assets.
Her whole tone, her whole demeanor really changed. She was tweaking that speech, guys, in the car on the way to the award ceremony, right to the very end. She said, let's do this, let's do that.
Wait a minute, Gayle King. If Oprah was tweaking her speech, why did she have to say, let's do this, let's do that? Who was she talking to? She wrote the speech, didn't she, according to you? If she wrote it, then she should have just scribbled it off herself. It's obvious that you wrote the speech and that she was reciting it, trying to memorize it as an actress. Remember, she memorized the scripts. You wrote the script. Oprah is the one who told you, let's take this out, let's add this. Because you wrote it, Gayle King. And I always mention this guy, Michael Aquino, on my channel because he's a very, very important figure. He provides a link between the Church of Satan and many of the more prominent members of Hollywood, people like Oprah Winfrey and Sammy Davis Jr.
I was going to ask you about this. We talked about this a little bit yesterday on the phone when you said took her to church, because people stood in the middle of it and then kept standing. Yes. It was like a sermon in some ways.
A sermon for what, Nora O'Donnell? These people are trying to sell it so hard that Oprah says something deep or profound. She didn't say anything. All she did was cast a spell on her audience of actors, meaning lower level witches than her. After they receive their orders from the Mother Goddess, their job is to go out and create films, movies, television shows, short films that will take the message that she gave them and they can propagate it to the masses at large. That's the process. That's the great work. That's how it is actionized. So in the process of putting forth that message, if she happens to also garner some acclaim or some favor as being a realistic candidate for office, then that's a great thing. But they're truly right now trying to gauge they're trying to gauge how the people, the masses at large, received her message, if they're ready for it. Because there's still so many people in America who are calling out bullshit. That's why Donald Trump is a problem. And they cannot afford to have Oprah Winfrey, their mother goddess, run against him in a quote-unquote election in 2020 and get smashed. I mean, if you thought that a lot of these liberal bitches were suicidal now, imagine if Oprah runs for president and she gets smashed by Donald Trump in 2020. You see a lot of these feminist bros jumping off of bridges and off of buildings.
It was a very spontaneous ovation. It was a very true ovation, and you could really tell that Oprah was speaking from her heart when she delivered that speech on Sunday.
Well, that's the problem. If someone's going to be president of a corporation / country, then they cannot be speaking from their heart. They have to be speaking from their head. You speak from your heart when you're giving a confession or when you're trying to teach your child or something like that. And even then, you still have to speak from your head to a degree. But when people's lives are counting on your views and on your concepts, you have to speak from your head. That, once again, is why she's not a realistic candidate for quote-unquote president of the United States. And let me also say this. Oprah is a member of a group known as the Good Club. Her, Bill Gates, Ted Turner, many other very affluent billionaires who basically their job is to try to discern and decipher a way to lower the population of the world without people knowing it. So she is certainly a member of higher level orders. She has responsibilities. And if they were to make her so-called president, it would be very advantageous for them because they would have a plant in the White House that they could use to push a lot of their ideologies. Like when they talk about going green or the greenhouse gas effect or CO2 emissions, that's code word for there being too many people on the planet Earth. They're saying that there's too many people on Earth who are emitting carbon dioxide when they're breathing. That's what their ideology is about. When they say go green, they're talking about going Heru or Tammuz, because he is the green man. He is the entity who adheres to population control, lowering the useless eaters, the people who just don't get it. That's what it means when they talk about going green.
Sunday night.
Should we do a whole nother interview now about
No.
What do you think?
No. I'm thinking that she is not going to be running for president. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you say she's
but I also
intrigued by the idea.
I do think she's very intrigued. And I also say, as I've heard many years on the Oprah Winfrey Show, you always have the right to change your mind. But that is certainly...
Well, that's normal, whimsical, and capricious rhetoric from liberal women. Liberal people in general. And when I say liberal, once again, I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about ideologies. Liberal is code for Marxist. Marxist is code for Luciferian. Okay? When you're a high-level representative or ambassador for a group of people, your attitude can't be, I could change my mind at any time. Your attitude has to be, I've thought these things out. I understand the repercussions for these concepts, and we're going to stick with it because I know it's going to work.
It is certainly not something she's considering right now.
Now, don't get me wrong. If the facts show that this concept or this idea is not truly realistic or conventional, then you have to adapt. But this mindset that, I can change my mind at any time. Like, what does that really mean? That just means that you're not dependable. You're not mentally stable.
I, on the other hand, think, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree.
Wow. And a lot of people are thinking, wow. A lot of people are thinking, wow. So,
a lot of people like who? Your fellow cronies in the liberal mass media? Angry lesbians and super feminists who can't get attention anymore because they're ugly as hell? Homosexuals, lesbians, pansexuals? Who's thinking, wow, Gayle King? Give me a break.
Wow, so we'll see.
You're intrigued.
I'm very intrigued, Jeff. I'm very intrigued.
All right, more on that and this other news too, the White...
But anyway, that's basically going to be it on this video in regards to Oprah Winfrey, or Harpo Winfrey, whatever you want to call her, CIA asset. Just to go through the basic rundown. She was, in my view, certainly a part of a CIA experiment known as Imaginative Research, MKUltra Sub-Project number 74, presided over by Mr. Carl Rogers. You should do some research on him. He was heavily into personality development in children. He was in charge of the sexual experimentation of little girls on high level male members of society, whether they be the leaders of colleges or the people who were going to be funding the CIA projects. Many of these young females were raised to be thrown into the entertainment industry so that they could get men into compromising positions. Carl Rogers, one of his top students, was a man named William Thetford, who wrote the book A Course in Miracles, a book which was heavily promoted on the Oprah Winfrey show. Oprah Winfrey has links to Miss Alice Walker, Gloria Steinem, so on and so forth. It's very, very obvious to me what she is and the level that they want to take her to right now, but they're not quite sure if people are ready for it yet. And Gayle King is clearly her writer. And the writer is very important because that's the person who's going to frame the image of that person for the masses. But anyway, peace.